Thank you for joining me on the Two Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Marina Theron-Monnery. Today, I am welcoming Melissa Moritz. Melissa is a former healthcare CEO, entrepreneur, business strategist, and founder of the Messy brand. With more than 20 years of executive leadership experience, driving multi-million dollar growth and leading large organizations, Melissa now helps women rebuild their identity, confidence, and income after life's biggest setbacks. As the host of the Messy podcast and creator of the Mess to Momentum framework, Melissa shares real stories, practical business strategies, and honest conversations that help women turn adversity into opportunity, build purpose driven businesses, and create momentum in midlife and beyond. Welcome, Melissa. Hi, Melissa. I'm so very happy that you're here with me today.
Hello, happy to be here.
Yes, Melissa, I am. You and I had a wonderful conversation before. And when I got your intake form, I thought, okay, this is all about business. And then I decided I need to talk to you. And I was so happy that I did because the connection we shared was just so amazing. So you just showed me that you bought a book that I recommended. So that makes me very happy and super happy you're here.
I'm very happy to be here. I will say, I guess we both felt a little bit of off energy because I really had to pause and really think about freedom, right? What it means to me, how to find it. Was I really living a free life? So I did pause when so we both kind of had that pause, if you will, with one another, not knowing one another yet. And
Exactly.
that's the beauty of podcasting is truly getting to meet new people, but also getting to know them in a variety of different ways. No two conversations will ever be the same in a podcast, and I just love that.
No, that's beautiful. And something else that really drew me to you is for many years, I've been publicly saying in blogs, in podcasts, in a magazine thing that was published, that my mess became my message. So
Mm,
here you are with Missy,
yes.
which is your podcast name. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So my, name is Melissa, and by nature, my family has always called me Missy as a nickname. And quite honestly, I never liked it. And I never went by that outside of my immediate family, my mom, my dad, like my sisters. Like those were the only people who ever called me Missy. And and that was kind of like it was kind of like a I don't want to say a secret. It was just kind of behind a door, right? Like I was Missy behind the door. And then I have children and I've raised my children as a single mom for the majority of their lives. I'm divorced and, life got messy. And every time I got in the car with a cup of coffee, I love to drink coffee. I drink a lot of coffee. Any hour of the day, I can drink coffee. I just love it. And I would always spill it on myself, spill it in the car, just spills. Like the rim of my coffee cup right here has like spills on it. And so naturally, my children started saying, God, you're so messy, but not in a negative way, just in a very endearing way. And I
Yes.
paused and I was like, okay, well, I'm messy. And then, as you said, I'm very in love with business. I love business systems. I love learning business, helping people clean up their business messes. Quite honestly, I was always hired to come into a company, take a different kind of high level view of what's going on in their different departments and clean up the messes. Just fix the departments to become operationally stronger and drive more revenue. And so I start to see this theme in my life. I'm messy, missy, and not in a negative way, in a beautiful
Yeah.
way. And we're going to probably dive into more here today. My life got really, really messy. And I went into severe depression and darkness. And part of the way for me to connect with who I am, who I was, who I really want to be, and create my own personal brand is Messy Missy. And it's in the most enduring way. And it's about finding the messages through the messes. It's about finding purpose through the pain. And all of that sounds a bit uncomfortable, but I like to help people build through their messes. And I like to, right now, I'm currently building through my messes. And so Messy Missy has kind of been a lifelong thing, but now it's here to stay.
I love it. It's a beautiful, unique brand and it's owning it instead of turning it into a negative.
Mm,
It's just owning it. So let's talk about your life took a big tumble. So
mm,
if you're okay, let's share with the audience about
sure.
that.
So I said I was divorced and kind of built through that mess, if you will. I was young. I would say relatively young. I had two very young children, 4 and 6, and went through this divorce in my early mid 30s. And so that's about a decade ago. And built businesses through that and really found a lot of purpose and a lot of passion, poured myself into helping others, and then found myself kind of climbing a corporate ladder, even though it was a very entrepreneurial based company. I rose inside of this company from marketing to chief accountability officer, where I helped clean up their messes, to CEO of a healthcare company. Beautiful. Just fell into in love with working 18-hour days, raising children into their teenager years, showing them what's possible, modeling what's what I can do. And then because of a divorce that was not mine, another couple's divorce, I was hit with a huge ripple effect. I had majority ownership in several of the companies under the umbrella company of the healthcare company. I had a beautiful home. I had truly built a dream life. I was 100% financially responsible for my children, putting them through some great education opportunities in life, all their extracurriculars. But this was nothing I could do anything about. This was, I call it a ripple effect that really turned into a tsunami as somebody removed from the situation. And I didn't have a plan B. So in about 2 weeks, I lost my role as the CEO of the healthcare company. I lost ownership of those smaller companies within that company. I lost my home. I lost my savings account. Everything was just taken, just completely destroyed, just turned to ashes. I really struggle with how to even explain that. And you can look at the how and you can look at the why, and there's really no purpose to looking back on any of that. So, what came of that, I lost identity, right? Your sense of identity. We're going to talk about freedom, and just found myself in a complete mess of my life, mess of a lifetime.
So it was very interesting because I have this intake form that I send all my guests to give me more information. And you've lost so much.
Mm,
You're in a short period of time. I mean, first before that, your marriage, and now your home, everything you've built, your financial security,
hmm
your identity, your career,
hmm
everything you work so hard for. So
hmm
if you look back today,
hmm
what was the hardest loss? Not externally, but
hmm
internally.
They're making me pause for a minute. So, it's really sad. So, I think materialistically, my home was the hardest thing to lose, not because of the structure, but because of what home stands for, being able to provide bedrooms for my children to come home to, having a kitchen where I pour into others. I'm Italian. I love to cook. I like healthy cooking. I nourish my soul with food. I nourish others with food. That's a love language of mine is cooking from scratch, baking. Um, so everything that comfort, that stability, everything that home stands for. And home is a structure, right? The flip side to that was having my bank account and my last paychecks completely. I had no savings. I had not a penny to my name, nothing. So having all of that, you can't just pick up and say, okay, fine, I'll go rent a furnished apartment. I could not do that. I was in no shape to do that. So I had to find people. Luckily, my parents helped me, my sister helped me, friends helped me. I have a car, so I had a place to stay. Um, but since then, for 2 years now, my children and I have not been had a home together. And so just that hardest part is really if somebody were to say, money doesn't buy happiness or money isn't everything, I would say you're correct. Health is everything first. With your health, you can rebuild. But second to that is absolutely money is important.
So, in the form, I asked the guests to describe to me the turning point, and
Mm,
you know what, and you did this already, but what really took my breath away was your answer. I had no choice.
I
That
don't have a
really
choice.
struck me. That you were really in the ashes, and yet you
Mm.
found a way.
Yeah, I would say I'm finding a way. I kind of call it clawing through every single day. In my mind, I'm a very visual person, and I kind of saw myself at the bottom of a sand pit, if you will, a really deep sand pit. And every day I don't have webbed hands, right? So every day you claw at that sand pit and the sand falls through. But eventually underneath me, the sand was was picking me up to build me up a little by little every single day so I could reach some sense of light so I could continue to rebuild every single day. And what you touched on there was choice, right? And what I
Mm,
think is so interesting with choice and freedom, how you tie those two together, I felt that I had no choices. I had no choice. Everything was taken away from me, and the help that people gave me was I was grateful for, but it was how they choose to help me. And little by little, I started to find ways to earn some income and pour into others. I started to come back to a sense of who I am and purpose when I started to help others. I drove
mm,
people to their cancer treatment. I drove people to their pre-ops for surgery. I helped seniors get food on their tables. So I started to help others. And I started to figure out what I did have choice over, choice to show
yes,
up every day. And so freedom and choice do go hand in hand.
I do. And I see a lot of courage in what you did. And
Mm.
honestly, Melissa, I know people who has fallen on hard times and they got stuck
Hmm.
in that. I don't even want to call it survival mode, but
Yes,
just
absolutely.
and for you, it took the courage, that choice. Um,
Mm.
it's courageous to decide, okay, you know what? I'm not going to sit here in self-pity. I'm going to go help somebody who needs help. And my other question that you mentioned, um, that surrender became part of your journey.
Mm.
What did surrender actually look like for you? How did it differ from giving up?
Surrender is kind of ugly. You think of surrender as like as opening up, right? As making space, as surrendering to things, right? Probably an action word. But inside of me, I really grappled with what surrender meant. Um, a lot of that is the letting go. A lot of that is a forgiveness for all the people that made choices on how to leave me on the streets. There was a whole team of legal, 32 attorneys, and not one of them considered me and my children. And so you have to learn to let that go. Surrender is letting go, and surrender is a forgiveness. It doesn't necessarily mean forgetting, but if you keep clinging to the past, if you keep clinging to what you had, or the hurt that was brought upon you, you're going to keep reliving that. And you're not going to be surrendering to that. And the minute you start, and it's little by little, it is not, surrender is not a, here I am, Lord, take, use me. And it's not like that. It's a for me, it's a very personal, very deep, very dark, and very gradual process of the letting go, of the surrendering, and of the becoming what's meant for you next, right? That was one chapter. That's one part of my story. And as I'm growing through this, I look back and I say, that's a part of my story. Now I have to build a new story. And that's what I'm doing now is building the new story because I get very teary-eyed about what we've just discussed. It's very personal. It's
Mhm.
very dark. My body can feel it. My body can feel reliving. I was just on a podcast a couple weeks ago, and my body feels living through those days all over again. What it felt like to watch somebody come in and take my home and want to auction off my belongings. It's disgusting. And
Lots of trauma right there.
a lot of trauma. But you say survival mode. I was trapped in that for 2 years.
Of course, of course.
Trapped, but I used that clawing every
Yes.
single day just to get through the next day, but not just to get through it, to try to do something each day, something new, just something instead of just seeing that sand, fall through my fingers.
It's so amazing to listen to you because I can almost picture this that in order for us to become, we have to surrender.
Have
It's
to.
kind of cleaning the slate.
Yeah.
So I see it quite clearly in your story. We talked about survival, and it really touched me when we did our intake call that you shared that answering even the questions in my form helped you realize
hmm
so much about the survival mode.
hmm
So, talk to me about survival mode.
Well, I call it a trap. It's a trap to keep you stuck. It's your brain keeping you safe, right? Our brain is an ancient tool to regulate us, to keep us safe, and that's its job. The brain is not to say, "Hey, let's go be courageous today and let's go, go attack our dreams." The brain will never do that. And so when I would wake up every morning and I would say, I don't even recognize where I am. Not physically, like I'm sleeping in guest rooms, yes, but or a couch or something. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about like inward. I don't recognize where I am. I don't recognize who I am. I've been so self-disciplined my whole life. I'm a collegiate athlete. I, you know, I ran a $75 million healthcare company, and yet I can't even brush my teeth. I
Mhm.
can't eat properly. I can't wear clean clothes. Like, I can't take care of myself. Who is this? And that was survival mode. And that was ugly. And that was nasty. And I kept just every single day saying, I don't want to be here. And so to get out of survival mode is a tricky thing. You have to start getting back up again. And you might get knocked back down 4 more steps backwards. It would happen, and it would be something as little as a dead car battery. And I would be like, really? Maybe I'm on my way to the gym. Maybe I'm on my way to drive somebody to their healthcare appointment. And you had to give me a dead battery. But like you say, courage. It's just finding some inner willpower.
Yeah.
And it isn't, what it isn't is freedom to give up. And that's what I really grappled with when you kept, you made such an impact on me trying to think about freedom because I didn't feel free. I didn't feel like I had any choice. And the more I would try to tie to my self-discipline, I would keep letting myself down. And I just tried to say, okay, well, that girl, she's not here. The pieces of her are still alive, but she's never going to be that girl again, that Missy again. A different Missy has to be born.
There's so much I wanna comment on this. The different Missy has. I almost said messy. Missy has to be born. Survival mode is so tricky because it initially seems like a huge relief from all the stress and the trauma, and it feels
Hmm.
safe. But
Hmm.
it's when the discontent within that survival mode happen when you feel, okay, but this is not it. There must have been a light bulb moment for you to realize, or maybe a few, maybe one every day. I cannot settle here. I have to claw
Right.
myself out of this.
So you and I talked about this, and you're one of the very first people I've ever met in real life that meditates
Yeah.
regularly. And so before this mess, I was a huge follower of Dr. Joe Dispenza. You and I uncovered that. I felt like, oh my goodness, the stars aligned. I've met Marina and she believes in Dr. Joe Dispenza's teaching, as do I. And if there was one consistent thing I've done every single morning for the past at least at least 10 years now is meditate. And I don't know if it's the practice of the meditation. I remember in that survival mode, I would meditate. I could, and I would, 6 hours a day,
I love
six
it.
hours a
Mhm.
day, because it removed me from my reality. I went to the dark space. There's the beta and the gamma, and I went there.
Yeah.
And I could live in that space. It sounds bizarre to anybody who hasn't practiced, but
Mhm.
that is one thing that I did consistently through my 2 years of survival mode, my
Yeah.
trapped survival mode. The other thing is I'm very spiritual, very faith-based. I absolutely will tell you if you're a believer or not a believer, like meditation, if you believe that you can leave your body and experience something totally different and release of all the pain you currently live in, and I believe in that. I believe in God, and I would not be here if it weren't for God. Absolutely not still be here. And so I kept going to finding places to go to church prior to being displaced from my home. I was a I served in my church. I taught children Bible study. So, when you're displaced, you have no community, no community whatsoever. And I really missed that. But I kept going to a little church that I stumbled on that was over 100 years old. It was just incredible. And one day, one Sunday, and I showed up in not nice clothing, just showed up as I was, really broken. They say church should be a hospital, should look like a hospital. And so I showed up as my true self. And the pastor, the sermon of the day was, "You can't stay here." I will never forget that.
Mhm.
And I've got the missile that I saved from that one church sermon, that one message.
So what did
And
that mean to you? You can't stay here. What did that mean to
so
you?
I just kept hearing this and God speaking to me and saying, "Are you listening to me? You can't stay here. So stay here in survival mode. Stay here in a place of darkness. Stay here in where you're not helping others, where you're not using your voice." That became the message. And every single day I would hear this. And I would kind of push back on that, whatever it was, the universe, God, the spirit saying, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? Use me. Go ahead, use me. Like that's the surrender. And eventually I thought I was the only person who's truly lost everything. I really thought, and I prayed, I don't want anybody to ever go through what I've gone through. No person on earth should ever endure what I've endured. So I when I had started my podcast in the mix of literally in the same time I was getting evicted from my home. I had started the Messy Missy podcast. And I kept hearing God say, use your voice, use your voice. You're not listening to me. You can't stay here. And it was just repeatedly. And so I got back on the podcast and I started a series called I Lost Everything, dot, dot, dot. And I reached out to people like you reached out to me. And I met with and hosted people to tell their stories of what they lost, but not what they lost, how they built through it. For me, that's so important. That's
Mm.
the most important message is stop staying stuck in survival mode. I've built some tools that I personally have created and used to get me out of it that I would share with anybody and get them through it faster. Nobody should be stuck in a survival mode for 2 years. It's just a waste. It's a really a waste of your life. And I was there and I just didn't know
Yes.
what to do next. So clawed my way through it, restarted my podcast, found courage. I felt like I had no courage left.
Mm.
Reached out to people who were, guests on my podcast and started rebuilding my courage, rebuilding my self-discipline, and here we are.
That's absolutely amazing. It's almost living your absolute full potential with everything you have. And so many things in my life is just leading to almost all these questions I have for you. And just, you touch on Joe Dispenza and the philosophy about that you can change your reality
Mhm,
like you did. And what I love about meditation is I think one of our biggest hurdles in life is all our thoughts.
mhm,
And thoughts alone can keep us stuck. It can put us in a fear-based system. So when you are in that ability to meditate for that long, your thoughts go away. You're a clean
mhm,
slate. And Joe Dispenza doesn't want to bring God or anything into what he does, but to me, it's like, okay, God, here I am. Do with me now whatever you want. And there's
mhm,
my mind is now yours. That to me is surrender. And
mhm,
I absolutely love how meditation, even sometimes to do a 15-minute, can
mhm.
one can change the energy of my day absolutely, completely. I love it.
You had said when we met that you had done 100 days in a row of the abundance. And so
The
I was
Alchemist.
inspired by
The
Oh, the
Alchemist. Yeah.
alchem. Oh, the
Yes.
alchemist. Okay. So I was
Yeah.
inspired by that. So I plugged back in and I did the alchemist the morning after we met. And then I found myself gravitating towards the abundance. That's where I
Right.
was
Right.
crosswired.
Yeah.
And and then I started doing more of the abundance. And then this morning, now that you mention it, I only did the morning 15-20 minute
Right.
meditation.
Right. Yeah.
But what I found is I meditate so much longer beyond the guided meditation.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. You start to live in that meditative state. And sometimes I just literally the breathing alone, I can take 2 minutes and just do deep breathing. And I immediately feel that I shift the energy. So,
Hmm.
I don't find myself doing those super long meditations as frequently as I used to. And it's now maybe because I have a little puppy that keeps me very busy early in the mornings, and I like to meditate early in the mornings. I
Yes.
find that even on a day when I feel okay, this is going to be a mountain to climb today. Okay, let's just
Mm,
break that mountain down to a little anthill through meditation, and it works. It's
mm,
just it's just amazing. And then I'm the kind of person I am. I don't always sleep a lot. I have a very active mind. So for me to meditate and turn my mind down
Mm,
is is like a big rest. So I designed a meditation for myself. I actually should put that on my website where I call it, it's a 10-minute power nap reset. So in the afternoons, 2 o'clock, when I cannot open my eyes anymore and I still have a lot of things to do, it's just that reset. It just clears my
hmm.
mind. I don't know what it is about it. And it's just amazing.
I love that. That's fantastic. And I think as we share what works for each of us individually, anyone listening can take pieces of it, right? What
Mm,
works for me is my those long morning meditations, but
mm,
what works for you is an afternoon reset. And so people can take p bits and pieces from each of us and apply it and try it. That's what I tell everybody. Try it. You have, yeah, it is a battlefield of the mind. Absolutely what you said. But in order to break free, right? Break free from whatever's keeping you in survival mode, break free from whatever's keeping you stuck, break free from living a life that you just don't like anymore. In order to do that, you have to try new things. You have to
yeah,
break out of the comfort. And even if you find yourself in the uncomfort where I was, right? The uncomfortable, the unfamiliar, you still have to break out of that in new ways to explore freedom.
right. You know, you and I talked a lot in our intake call, which I absolutely loved. In a sense, I wish we would have recorded that.
I know.
To me, it's accomplishing, whether it's through prayer or worship or meditation, it's accomplishing the same thing, and there's alignment with God.
Mhm.
And you showed me that you bought the book Zero Limits, and to
Yes.
me, that was probably one of the best examples of getting yourself in alignment with God through forgiveness. And at the
Wow.
end of
I,
the
I
day,
cannot wait to read it. I'm just at the
yes,
beginning. And he
the
was one of the
Ho'oponopono,
people
right?
was with The Secret.
Right. Joe Vitale, he wrote that book.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So it's that book is all about the Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian principle of forgiveness. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And at the beginning, somebody would piss me off, and I would be, I'm sorry that I'm so angry. Please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And then later on, I turned it to God. I'm
Mm.
sorry that I removed myself with this attitude from you.
Uh,
Please
what
forgive
if
me.
we
And
even
coming
go
up,
one further
I'm
and say, I'm
trusting.
sorry I didn't trust you, right? Like
Yeah,
to
yeah,
truly trust God is to surrender because
yeah,
we don't when we wake up in this reality, when we see what's before us in reality, which
right.
is what meditation helps us remove ourselves from. When we wake up and we look around here and we're like, I don't belong here, right? Well, but God, right? But God. God has a plan. You have to trust him, and he put you here for a reason.
Yeah. And it's just, having that relationship, and even just a short meditation or a long one, doesn't matter what it is, to just
Hmm.
get back into that absolute surrender and trust.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's, I think, totally what it is for me.
And Joe
So
Dispenza calls it synchronicities.
exactly. I love it. Absolutely love it. So I want to talk about what you do today, because today you help women rebuilding their lives after adversity. And what have you learned about healing that you wish somebody had told you, Melissa,
Mm.
on the day that everything fell apart for you?
That's funny. So nobody knew what to do with me. Quite honestly, not one person knew what to do with me, how to help me, what to say, how to show up, none of that. So the journey for this healing journey, if you will, has been mine and mine alone. I would say it's very personal. So where I have read all the books, right? All the books, all the help me heal, what to do when you're ready to heal. And I will say I took bits and pieces and tried things, but I wouldn't say there's any. roadmap to healing for um, cookie cutter. There's nothing I could say I can help guide people towards healing on a journey. I can give them tools, I can give them ideas, suggestions. There's a lot of grief in healing, and
Mm.
I don't like to put the time limit on it. For me, I can't even believe it's taken this long, right? But when you meditate, you never limit anything based on like the reality of human time. So, healing is just very, very personal, and the best way to heal through your masses, I certainly say, is to build something to help others, to find somebody's problem and help them solve their problem. That helps you heal your broken heart. Because what are we healing? We're healing a broken heart.
Yeah. So literally, your mess became a message.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
It has. It's been a crazy journey. And I'm still in it, right? Building through it. Um, and I would say that I don't know of a finish line. That this is a journey. This could be for the rest of my life on this journey of helping others build through their messes. And right now, I started something very personal called Project Homeward Bound. It's my personal challenge to me to document every single day. Um, uh, and I kind of put that finish line as like until I'm home, until I can provide a home for me and my children. I have, can provide them a bedroom each. But then I shifted it somewhere around day 20-ish. And I shifted to just building my dream life and showing up every single day, real, raw, honest, what it takes to build my dream life. And every single person's dream life should be different. Every single person should have a
Yeah,
different dream.
I love it. So we touched on this a little bit earlier because you mentioned gracefully that filling out my form challenged you.
Mm.
And my signature question is always around freedom. What
Mhm.
does freedom mean to you today?
Today, it means two things, and not to be canned responses, but to me personally, it means financial freedom and time freedom. And by that, I mean financially refilling my bank accounts, not my, proverbial bank accounts, right? Having cash flow, freedom to go in the grocery store and afford the groceries again, freedom to afford a home. That's the financial freedom to build my dreams, to freedom to try new workout class, to financial freedom where money flows and I can give to those in need and help those in need. And the time freedom for me is that I can work from anywhere my heart desires. I can take my microphone, my computer, my portable Wi-Fi, and I can plug in and work from anywhere. And that is time freedom for me.
So if someone is listening today and they are in the middle of their own mess and they cannot imagine freedom, what would you want them to know?
God, that's such a good question. Um, I, I go to this one statement just popped up right in front of my eyeballs as I closed my eyes to answer this. You're not alone. You are not alone. You may feel like you are in the depths of despair. You may not want to live anymore. I have been there. I have been there, and I don't talk about it, but you're not alone. And I want you to reach out to me immediately. I am
Love it.
here for that.
I love it. So this leads me to tell us what it is exactly what you are doing.
What am I doing? building my dream life. I am um, building every single day, showing up every single day. Right now, I'm in a temporary apartment. By the grace of God, I have a roof over my head. I have enough to support a couple of meals a day for myself. And I'm building, I'm showing up real, raw, honest, vulnerable, and I will stop at nothing I call it the keeping going.
Mm,
I've
mm.
turned it into I'm keeping going, and I'm listening to God, and following Him every single
And
day.
how do you help clients? What do you do for them?
I help them. One is using their voices on the podcast, which has become an incredible instrument. So many people will join the podcast as the first time they've ever told their story. I had a woman, credible message out of Dubai, and it was the first time she was also on the streets. She dumpster diving for food, living in the streets. She truly did lose everything too, as well. And the first time she ever told her story was on the Messy Missy podcast. And so I'm helping people use their voice. I am helping people believe in themselves again, finding their own courage, finding strength that they may not feel that they have any longer, and then build their identities, build their income, and build their independence. And I am putting in place right now by doing it myself. I just believe you can't teach anything unless you do it yourself, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Um,
Yeah.
so I am learning how to earn multiple streams of income online, right? I'm not going to be tied to a physical business anymore, the brick and mortar, serve any type
Mhm.
of business anymore. I am now pivoted to how do we as women um, earn money online. And so I'm personally diving headfirst into that to learn all the different ways that we can make money online and then teach that. And again, it's so individualized. I think we all try to make everything take this one course and then you can do this.
Yeah.
But I truly believe everything, we have something special inside of ourselves and different, and we have to believe in that and then use it. So there's no imposter syndrome. There's no I use cookie cutter. There's no do it this way and you get it, you get this results. No, because there's a million different ways to do things. So I'm doing it myself.
That's absolutely amazing. And Melissa, I'm going to have a lot of links for our viewers and listeners in the description of this video so people can contact you directly, right?
Absolutely. Please do. I'm here for all of it.
Well, I am at the end of this recording and I really feel just such an open heart after this
Mm,
conversation. I just feel such love for you and just such love coming from you that it's just making my life so much easier. So I really want to
yeah.
thank you for being so
Thank
open
you.
and sharing your amazing story of resilience and just clawing your way back. And I know you're
Yes.
still busy, and I cannot wait to see how your journey is going to unfold.
Me either. I can't wait either. It's in the doing, right? It's in the showing up every day. But I will say that the you talked about the open heart. Um, and I think that that's really important if you finding yourself, in that limitation of you're not living truly free right now. Check on your heart. You have to open it, and love and authenticity are the two highest vibrating sources out there. So if you can open your heart, even though you feel broken or hurt or really messy, right? Open your heart, but also show up. authentically. And that's what I truly believe in, the authenticity and the love and showing up messy.
That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you again so much, Melissa, and
Thank
thank you to
you. Thank
all
you for
our.
having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you to all our listeners and viewers for being here with us today. You are making this podcast definitely worth it. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much to Melissa Moritz for sharing her story with such honesty and courage. One of the things I appreciated most about our conversation is that Melissa reminds us we don't have to have every answer before we can make a difference. Even while continuing her own journey, she has chosen to show up in service, encouraging others that their mess doesn't have to be the end of their story. If you'd like to learn more about Melissa, her podcast, and her work, you will find all of her links in the description of this episode. And thank you for joining me, Marina Theron-Monnery, your host of the Two Freedom Podcast. If you enjoyed our conversation, please follow the podcast, subscribe wherever you're watching or listening, and share this episode with someone who would benefit from hearing Melissa's story. Every share helps these meaningful conversations reach more people. Until next time, keep choosing freedom.